Hey friends, I'm Alexia. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun to show you guys my physical TBR, meaning all of the books I currently own that I want to read. And I also thought it would be fun at the end of the video to pull 2 or 3 books from my TBR jar. I know some people have been doing prompts in their jar, but mine, I just kind of stuck all the titles. I was very logical about it. I just stuck all the titles of the books I currently own, and my goal is to hopefully get these all read by December. I'm excited to show you guys what I own and to pick what I will be reading in August. Let's get right into my physical TBR. I will start with what I'm currently reading, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. This is actually my book club's book pick for August. That's a tongue twister. I am really enjoying this one so far. I'm almost 200 pages in. I'm on page 185. I think I am going to rate this one very highly. If you guys want to check out my book club too, it's on the Fable app. It's called Bottomless Reads. And I'll include a link down below in case you guys want to read it. We just read mainly fiction, but it's just a club to expand your palette of genres that maybe you wouldn't think of trying out. In case you are not aware, it's about this girl in the 1700s who is going to be married off to a man, and she escapes off into the woods and basically makes a deal with a demon to become immortal. What she wants is more freedom, but he kind of twists the words she says, makes her immortal, and now she is free from everyone, including their minds. She cannot leave any sort of impression on Earth or on people. Everyone who meets her ends up forgetting her, literally the moment they turn away from her. It's just jumping between the past and the present. It's the account of her life and how she comes to terms with the fact that her identity has been erased and how she builds a new one. 300 years later, someone finally remembers her name and her. Yes, I highly recommend this one so far. I love it. It's so emotional and very thought-provoking. It's definitely a concept I had never thought about. Okay. I was trying to come up with a way to section these out in a cohesive manner. There's basically going to be 3 main categories. One is going to be fiction, one is going to be nonfiction / inspired by real events, and then the other one is just going to be series. I'll start with nonfiction / stories inspired by real events. First, I'll go ahead and talk about Crying in H Mart. I don't know a lot about this one. All I know is it's a memoir, and it's just her story about her relationship with her mother and also how her Korean American identity and her culture has affected that, and also her relationship with food and how her relationship with food is intertwined also with her mother. And basically just having to come to terms with the fact that her mother is ill and reconciling her relationship with her mother. Also just writing her coming of age story of what it was like growing apart from and then back together with her Korean identity. So I'm looking forward to this one. It sounds kind of sad, but I am excited to take my time with this one and really delve into it. I love the cover too. I love the noodles on the front. The next one I'm going to talk about is a memoir by Deborah Deep Mutton. This one's called Black Chameleon. I actually saw this one at a book festival. It's one of the 3 that I'll show that are actually in this same category that I ended up getting. This one's about Mutton's experience growing up as a Black woman, and also the way she writes it, from my understanding, is each chapter is a different myth or legend. Her writing just the stories that connect with her own identity, because it says here she yearned for stories she could connect to, true ones, but also fables and mythologies that could help explain both the world and her place in it. It says, Greek and Roman myths felt as dusty and foreign as ancient ruins, and tales by Black authors were often rooted too far in the past in a continent way. I just think the description of this is beautiful, and I think it's just amazing, just the concept of her writing her own myths and fables about wanting to connect with people like her as well. The next two that I also got at this book festival and are now inspired by real events, not necessarily memoirs, are these two. People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks and also Red Clay Susie by Jeffrey Dale Lofton. So this one is about Jeffrey Dale Lofton's, it's inspired about his experience living in the South, being gay, and also the main character is also physically disabled, and it's kind of just his experience living in the Deep South with a mother who has instilled in him that he won't find anybody who will love him, which sounds very heartbreaking. But yes, I'm excited for this one. The next one is People of the Book that I'll talk about. This one is about Hannah Heath, an Australian rare book expert who's been offered the job of a lifetime, basically just analyzing and conserving different artifacts. And I think she comes across one book that is one of the earliest Jewish volumes ever to be illuminated with images, and she just discovers different pieces within it that ends up unlocking a lot of mysteries from the past. When I was looking at this book and a few of her other ones, because all of her covers are very vibrant and super beautiful, this man was just like, oh my gosh, I highly recommend this one. It's the only book I reread. I make sure to reread every single year, and it never fails to make me fall in love with it again. He said this is just his favorite book of all time. So I was like, say less, sir. It is going home with me today. So yes, amazing. Next, I am going to talk about the fiction books in my TBR. The first one is Warcross by Mary Lou. This one is described as Hunger Games meets Minecraft, which is super intriguing. I got this recommended to me in a bookstore back home when I said I was looking for something similar to Ready Player One. This one is about a hacker named Emeka Chen who works as a bounty hunter to track down Warcross players who bet on the game illegally. And eventually she ends up accidentally glitching herself into the game, and then she meets the creator of the game who makes her an offer that she can't refuse, and suddenly she's whisked off into a world of fame and fortune, and then she discovers something more sinister is at hand, is at play. Next is Good Omens. I know there's a TV show now of this one, except I have not seen it. I actually got this one at the same bookstore as I got Warcross, and I think I was there a different time and I was just asking for a recommendation again, and they really recommended this one. They have a white cover with the devil on it, and I think that's super cute, so maybe eventually I'll collect both of them. But essentially, this is about the rapture beginning to happen, and then an angel and the devil actually decide, hey, I like life the way it is, so let's team up and maybe stop that from happening. So just that concept alone sounds really intriguing. The next one is a more science fiction one, which is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I've heard a lot about this one. It's about Ryland Grace, who ends up waking up in the middle of space, doesn't remember what his assignment is, doesn't really remember how he got there, I think. Apparently this assignment is so important that it could save humanity and Earth itself. He wakes up with his crewmates dead, which is so terrifying, and he basically has to just figure it out on his own in the middle of space.
That's crazy.
When I read that, I was like, what's more terrifying? Being out in the middle of space or in the middle of the ocean? let me know what you think, because honestly, I don't know what's worse. At least in the ocean, you can breathe, I guess, and you can be outside, but I don't know. They're both terrifying. The next is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Dower. When I read the synopsis, it was kind of confusing for me, but essentially it's about 5 people and you see how all of their lives interconnect from the past, present, into the future. And essentially all of their stories are connected by a centuries-old book, which is the story of Ethan, someone who longs to be turned into a bird so that he can fly to a utopian paradise in the sky. That's pretty much all it really gives. It says, Anna, Omir, Seymour, Zeno, and Constance are dreamers and outsiders whose lives are gloriously intertwined. Anthony Dower's dazzling imagination transports us to worlds so dramatic and immersive that we forget for a time our own. I think this is a bit more fantasy. I'm not really sure. I read All the Light We Cannot See, and I really loved Dower's writing. I am a little concerned about the pacing because I thought All the Light We Cannot See was a bit slow and it almost got me into a reading slump. If I get this out of my jar, I probably won't be choosing to read that this month just because I just finished All the Light We Cannot See. It's still very good. I'll talk about that one more in my wrap up, but that's all I'll say for now. The next book I'll talk about is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This one is a fiction novel about 2 sisters who, I think they're identical twins, who end up getting separated. Well, they're both raised in pretty much opposite circumstances. It says on the back here that one of them is white passing and the other one has a daughter who she ended up raising in the southern town that she grew up in. I know this one was very popular a couple years ago and I just have never gotten down to reading it. I love the cover, so I am looking forward to finally reading this one because I know a lot of people were saying that this one was just fantastic. The last one out of my fiction TBR is Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this. This is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo a couple years ago, and I really loved it. So I wanted to give Daisy Jones and the Six a try. Daisy, who is coming of age in LA in the late 60s. Her voice is getting noticed, and then she ends up going on tour with the Six, and the band's lead is named Billy Dune. On the eve of their first tour, his girlfriend Camila finds out she's pregnant, and with the pressure of impending fatherhood and fame, Billy goes a little wild on the road. Daisy and Billy cross paths when a producer realizes that the key to supercharged success is to put the 2 together. What happens next is the stuff of legends. So I'm very intrigued by this one, especially since it's written in some interview format. Also, this sounds very messy, so I'm looking forward to that. Some spice. Next is going to be the series. Oh my lord. I'll start with the ones I have yet to start. So first up is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I have never read The Hunger Games before, so I'm mostly looking forward to reading it, but I also am not a fan of reading things I have already watched. I know the books are always going to be better, but I don't know. Just knowing what's going to happen mostly is just not my cup of tea. However, the reason why I'm reading The Hunger Games is because I'm a Hispanic girly who unfortunately grew up not reading a lot of Spanish, and I also grew up here, so I did not really grow up kind of just having a more solid education on how to read / write Spanish. I know how to read it, it's just definitely a muscle that I would like to strengthen because I've never read a book in Spanish. So that was one of my goals for this year, is to just challenge myself to read more in Spanish. I decided to pick Los Juegos del Hambre, or The Hunger Games. I'm excited to read The Hunger Games, not really excited to read about Gale because I don't like Gale at all, but it's fine. But anyway, that's my little tangent on The Hunger Games. And I also found this at a little free library, so I snagged it because I was like, you know what, if there's ever a point where I'm kind of confused about the terminology for some reason, then I can just flip in my handy dandy. There's a lottery ticket in this. Can you imagine if this was a winner? That'd be crazy. Anyway, that was a very long tangent on The Hunger Games. Throne of Glass. So this will actually be a reread. I've read up to Heir of Fire, which is the third one. For some reason, Selena, I don't know, but she kind of, I don't know, I just remember being so frustrated with her in the third book that I just stopped reading it, and then I was like, I'll get back to it. Never did. It's been like 8 or 9 years. So I've been wanting to get back into this. I've read all of ACOTAR, well, just A Court of Wings and Ruin, because I'm not going to read Frost and Starlight. I'm so sorry. So I just want to hop back into Throne of Glass because, one, all the series are out, or all the books are out, so it'll be nice knowing that I can just read the entire thing now. And two, I really loved Throne of Glass, so I really just want to reread it and give it another shot. The next one I have is The Novice. So this one, I remember like 8 years ago, I was in a Barnes & Noble, and I think I picked this up or something, and the girl was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best novels, or one of the best series I've read in a long time. It's just really fun, and plus he keeps a little dragon with him, and I was like, oh, okay, so I bought it. Obviously, I'm very easily convinced to buy these things, to buy these books that people recommend me out of nowhere, and I've never read it. And even though I've unhauled a ton of books, I really have always just stuck to this one because I feel like I'm going to enjoy this one. But I haven't heard about this a lot, so let me know if you've read this one and enjoyed it, or if you didn't enjoy it too, I guess. This one is about Fletcher, who is a working blacksmith's apprentice, and he discovers he has the rare ability to summon demons from another world. He's basically chased from a village for a crime he did not commit, and Fletcher must travel with his demon, Ignatius, to an academy for adepts where the gifted are taught the art of summoning. I mean, it's basically... Oh, I just realized you can see the little dragon, his little demon on his shoulder. I'm a fantasy girly, so throw me all your fantasy recommendations. This one is The Inheritance Games. I've heard a lot about this one, and I've heard that the entire series is pretty good. This one is about Avery Grams, who basically just wants to get out of town, graduate, get some scholarships. Then she ends up inheriting a billionaire's entire fortune, in which he says the only catch is to live in his mansion, which I'm like, okay. It's just the typical forced proximity of girl grumbling, having to live in a rooftop with all attractive men and being like, why me? And then they're like, why me? I didn't get the money. And then I'm sure there's going to be a love triangle or something. Oh, it's 4 men. My bad. That's still pretty bad. And one of them thinks that this is their grandfather's last puzzle to be solved. These are the 3 series that I've gotten to, so these are just continued. The first is Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This one is the second in the Raven cycle. The first one is the Raven Boys. The Raven Boys is about Blue Sergeant, who basically gets told her entire life that she's going to kill the first person she kisses, or the love of her life. I can't really remember. And then it follows Gansey, who is very obsessed with the tale of the Welsh king and Celtic lore, and it kind of just tells their story and how it intertwines. And it's super cute. I highly recommend it. This is also a reread for me. But same thing, like Throne of Glass, I made it to the third one. I did read the third one, which is Blue Lily, Lily Blue, but I never finished the fourth and last one, which is The Raven King. And I have it, and I've had it for years. But it was one of those things where it finally came out, and I think I wasn't in the mood for it or something. And then by the time I didn't remember anything that happened. Now I'm just rereading it so I can finally finish the series, because it's so good. It's really cute. I think it's YA as well, but it's amazing. Very character driven. I mean, it's plot and character, but the characters are just so well developed and they're so lovable. I just really enjoy the series. Next is Vow of Thieves, which is by Mary E. Pearson, which is the second and I think last. I think this is just a duology of Dance of Thieves. I love Dance of Thieves. I'm gonna talk about it more in a wrap-up video, but I loved it. So I'm super excited to finish this one. The first one is about Kazi and Jace. Kazi is she's a warrior that's trained for the Queen's army, essentially, and Jace he just inherited the throne of his own kingdom, and their stories kind of collide when Kazi is sent to kind of see what's going on over there. If they're harboring a fugitive, they keep deceiving each other, but for different reasons, and them falling in love with each other, and it's so good. It's really good. So I'm excited to continue this. I just can't wait. I just thought the first one was super clever. It was the first time I've read a dual perspective where I was like, wow, I can see where both of you guys are coming from, and I don't know whose side I'm on. So yes, I can't wait to get to this one. Finally, this is the last of my TBR. It's The Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This is from the Dark Artifices series. I think this is the last one as well. Honestly, part of me thinks same with the Raven Cycle series and this one. I'm just so hesitant to finally finish it, because then it'll be done. And then I'll be so sad, because you'll just have to say bye to those characters and finally end the series. So I think I'm a little hesitant on finishing both of those, because I'm not ready to put them to rest on my shelf. I definitely need to read the synopsis of both Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows, because it's kind of gotten to the point where I'm not sure if I remember a lot, but I don't want to reread it, because this big boy is... Hello. How long are you? 870 pages. This one's the biggest one, I think, but there's still 600, 700 pages, so I will not be rereading the other ones anytime soon, so I'll just be looking stuff up while I go into this one. So yes, that is my entire physical TBR. So I'm super excited to get to all of those, and now it's time for me to pick the reads for August. I'm going to pick 2 at a time just so I can have choice, because a girlie needs choices. Okay, so first choice is between The Novice and Project Hail Mary. This is hard because I've heard this one makes you feel a little dumb reading it, just because it has such scientific language. But I don't know if I want to start a series, because I'm like, what if this is good and I just want to keep reading it? I'll choose Project Hail Mary for this one. So that's my first choice. Next, Queen of Air and Darkness and Good Omens. So The Queen or Good Omens. Honestly, I know she's big, she thick, she a thickie, but I might choose this because I think I'm ready to continue. And finally, She built like a good watermelon. But I really want to finally finish the series. I'll choose another one just to have more choices in here. But if I read this one, I'm not sure if I'll get to many other books this month, to be honest. I read slow. I'm a slow reader. Ain't no shame in that. But I'll do one more for funsies. The Vanishing Half and Cloud Cuckoo Land. This versus this.
If I get this out of my jar, I probably won't be choosing to read that this month.
I'll choose The Vanishing Half. Yay! So here is my August TBR. I probably won't get to all of these, realistically speaking. Oh my god. But I'll definitely try my best. So yes, that's my video. I hope you guys had fun watching this. I definitely had fun making it. Let me know what you've read and what you've liked, what you've not been such a fan of. Let me know what's on your TBR for August. But I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye!